In today's video, I'll be answering questions based on the March 2023 Grade 11 Paper 1 Mathematics paper from the Johannesburg West District to be specific. So as you can see, we have 5 questions. This video will serve as part 1, and on part 2, I'll be doing question 2 with its own set of questions. So let's begin. On question 1, you're asked to solve for x. So on 1.1, we have to solve for x. In a question like this, it's already written in standard form, and many people tend to multiply out x by x plus, they tend to multiply x with 5x plus 2. That is not something you're supposed to do because this equation has already been factorized. See, so what you need to do here is to just say x is equal to 0 or x is equal to, 5x plus 2 is equal to 0 because it's already factorized. It's in this form where you have 2 brackets that are equal to 0, but then instead of using a bracket for x, they didn't use the bracket, so don't be confused by that. Sometimes it would normally look something like this: x plus 1 and x plus 2. Here you would say x plus 1 is equal to 0, or you'd say x plus 2 is equal to 0. This is the same thing. It's already factorized, so this is how you would do it. And then of course, let's continue. If we take 2 to the left, it becomes negative, and then we divide on both sides by 5 because we only want x, right? So 5 and 5 will cancel. As a result, we will have x is equal to negative 2 over 5. So that's our answer. This is basically how you would do it. It's that easy. Now let's do 1.2. On 1.2, you are told that you need to write your answer and make sure that you correct 2 decimal places. Whenever they say correct 2 decimal places, what should come to your mind is the quadratic formula, because they know that you will not be able to solve this question by factorizing it. So whenever they say correct 2 decimal places, quickly write down your equation. Now for x is in general will be equal to negative b plus minus plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This is the formula you're going to be using. And of course, let me write down what's given. And we're given 2x minus 3 is equal to 4. So before we use this formula, we need to write the x multiplied by 2x minus 3 is equal to 4 in a form in which we can use this formula. So we have to multiply everything out so that it exhibits a quadratic expression. So let's take this equation and we write it. So x multiplied by 2x is going to be 2x squared. And x multiplied by negative 3 is going to be negative 3x. And then when we take 4 to the left, it becomes negative 4. And that's all going to be equal to 0. Okay, now we can see that we have A here, we have B here, and we also have C there. We wouldn't be able to see our A, B, and C if we were to just use the equation as it is. So this was necessary to do. Now let's substitute everything into the formula and see what we get. B is equal to negative 3. So we put negative 3 there, plus, minus, negative 3 again in the place of B, minus 4a. In the place of A, we have 2. In the place of C, we have negative 4. And then divide the whole thing by 2a. In the place of A, we have 2. When you use your calculator, you're going to get, let me break it down a bit. So this is going to be positive 3 plus minus. This is going to be 9 plus 32. 9 plus 32 is equal to 41 over 4. Therefore, you'll get x is equal to, the first answer that you write is going to have a positive with it. Or the second one was going to have a negative. Negative. That's the significance of plus minus. It simply means that you have two possible solutions. The first solution is having a positive value, a positive value in front of the square root, and the second answer is going to have a negative in front of the thingy, the square root. So here, what you will see is that x is going to be equal to 2.35 or 2.35, or x is going to be equal to negative 0.85. So that's how you would do this question. You just have to punch down these numbers in your calculator, and you will get the answer because you're allowed to use a calculator. Now let's go to 1.3. On 1.3, we are asked to find the values of x on a given inequality. So on 1.3, we have x squared minus x minus 6 is greater or equal to 6. So we have to write this in standard form such that everything is on the right and it's greater than or equal to 0. And then we take 6 to the left, it becomes negative, and then we are left with 0 there. Let's simplify this. Negative 6 minus 6 is negative 12. It's greater than or equal to 0. Now, if you look at x squared minus x minus 12, it looks like a graph, a parabola. It looks like a parabola, right? So this is very important. It will help you answer the question. If you don't know this, then you will have a hard time answering this question. So when you are in this step, the first step that you have to do is to just take a rough paper and write x squared minus x minus 12 is equal to 0 and try to find the roots of this equation. So you know that x squared is equal to x times x, and 12 is equal to 4 times 3. X times 4 is 4x, x times 3 is 3x. And then when you add them together, they are supposed to give you the middle term. The middle term is this negative x here. So they are supposed to give you negative x. What can you do to these two numbers so that when you add them, they give you negative x? It's pretty clear to me that you would have to put a negative here in front of 4 because negative 4x plus 3x is equal to negative x, right? So knowing that, you have to account for the fact that there is a negative in front of 4. Where is 4 here? Here is 4. What you need to do is to write a negative in front of it to account for the fact that 4 has a negative now. And this will be our first bracket, this one on top, and then this one at the bottom will be the second bracket. But then we have to put a positive here next to 3 because 3 is positive in this case. So we will end up with two brackets. The first bracket will be x minus 4, and the second bracket will be x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. So now we've rewritten x squared minus x minus 12 as x minus 4 and x plus 3. Okay, now that we have this, we know for a fact that the answer that we will get here, we have two possible solutions here. We have x is equal to 4, positive 4, or x is equal to negative 3. The reason we have these solutions is because x minus 4 becomes positive when you are solving for x, and x minus plus 3 becomes negative when you're solving for x. You already know how to do this. So after doing this, step 1 would be then to draw a diagram to help you visualize this situation. And you can see that I'm drawing a parabola that's pointing, that's concave up. The reason I'm choosing concave up is because if you look at this x squared here, x squared has a coefficient of 1. even though it's not written. That means that because a is equal to 1, a is greater than 0. And because a is greater than 0, we have a smiling function. That's why I'm writing it this way. It looks like it's smiling. And I know that the top part here, that's where the graph is greater than 0. Always. This is greater than 0. You have to sort of label this greater than 0. And then the bottom part is negative. Always write this, just for your own convenience. Less than, because it's below 0, so it's less than 0. Less than 0, the bottom part. Now, go back to the initial equation, to this equation here. This equation is said to be greater than or equal to 0. For you to know where it's greater than or equal to 0, you have to come to this drawing here and look at the regions where the graph is greater than 0. If you look at this part here, this part of the graph, this segment of the graph is on the greater side. And also this segment of the graph, because it's also on top, above the x-axis, it's also on the greater side. And of course, you have to also write your 4 here and your -3 here, because they are your roots. As a result, because we know that we know the two regions where the graph is greater than 0, we can then say all the values of x, where x starts from -3 up towards -infinity, the graph is greater than 0. Because as you go this way, as you go this way, the graph is tending towards -infinity in terms of its x values. And if you look at this side, it's tending towards positive infinity in terms of its x values, as long as the graph is positive and it's going this way. See? So this is how you'd write your solution. You'd put an or here, and then say, this is or. You then say x is less than or equal to -3, or x is greater than or equal to 4. Exactly the way you see it. X is less than or equal to -3, or x is greater than or equal to 4. Another notation that you could use would be, instead of using or, you would then say union. And then instead of using this nomenclature or this convention, you would then say -3 here and -infinity. Note that I used this bracket here to signify that for the x values that we are talking about, -3 is also included. And why is -3 included? It's because it's included in the question in the first place, greater than or equal to. And then with 4 as well, I will include 4 up to positive infinity. We will never reach infinity, so we have to use this type of bracket here. So this is how you would write the solution this way, or you would write it this way. Now let's go to 1.4. On 1.4, don't know what's this. On 1.4, you are given 2x plus 2 plus 2 to the power of x minus 2 plus 2 to the power of x is equal to 42. In a question like this, you know for a fact that there is no number that you can raise 2 to such that it gives you 42. So it simply means that maybe you need to simplify something on the left. Okay, so we know that 2 to the power x plus 2 is the same as 2 to the power x times by 2 to the power 2 plus 2 to the power of x minus 2 is the same as 2 to the power of x times by 2 to the power of -2 plus 2 to the power x is equal to 42. Okay, now that we have we've just expanded everything here. We can see that 2 to the power x is found everywhere here. So we can take it out as a common factor, such that we are left with 2 to the power 2, which is 4. And here we are left with 2 to the power of -2, which is the same as 1 over 2 to the power 2, which is the same as 1 over 4. And here, 2x goes into 2x once. So we're going to put 1 there. And that's going to be equal to 42. Okay. And then now let's come to this side. 4 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 is equal to, let's check. 4 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 is going to give us 21 over 4. So we have 2 to the power x multiplied by 21 over 4 is equal to 42. So when we multiply on both sides, because we want to get rid of 1 over 4, we can multiply by 4 over 21, which is we multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. On this side as well, we're going to be multiplying by 4 over 21. This will cancel, and 2 to the power x is going to be equal to 42 multiplied by 4 over 21. 42 multiplied by 4 divided by 21 is equal to 8. And 8 is equal to 2 to the power 3. So if 8 is equal to 2 to the power 3, we then know that because the bases are the same, the exponents should be equal. Therefore, x is equal to 3. That's how you would do this question. Now let's go to the next one, the last question. On the last question, we are given, this is 1.5, right? It's 4x minus 11 is equal to 2 minus x. And we're asked to solve for x. In a question like this, you have to square both sides. Always, you have to square both sides. It helps a lot because you get rid of the square root so that you have 4x minus 11 exposed. And then you could just multiply this one out. 2 minus x is to the power 2 is the same as 2 minus x multiplied by 2 minus x. And 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2, x is negative 2x, and negative x times 2 is negative 2x, and negative x times negative x is positive x squared. So this can then be put on the right as x squared minus 4x, because negative 2x and negative 2x are negative 4x, plus 4. Don't know what's happening here. This thing is refusing to write. So if we can take everything to the left and equate all of it to 0, we would have a much simpler equation. So let's take x squared to the left. We'll have negative x squared plus 4x to the left as well. And then we take positive 4x to the left as well, plus 4x minus 11. These are the values that were already on the left, the last two. And then this would be negative x squared plus 4x is equal to 8x. Negative 4 minus 11 is going to give us negative 15. And that's all going to be equal to 0. What I usually do, if I want to make my life easy, is to multiply by a negative throughout whenever I have a negative coefficient of x squared, so that I can find the factors easily. So let's multiply by a negative throughout. We're going to have a positive x squared minus x. As I was saying, so here we will have negative, what is this now? Okay, so this is going to be negative 8x, and this is going to be positive 15x. So we multiply by a negative throughout, and now it's easy to factorize this. So we know that x squared is made by x times x, and 15 is made by 5 times 3, and then 3 times x is 3x, 5 times x is 5x, and then when we add these two, what can we do to them such that they give us negative 8x? they would have to be both negative, because negative 3x plus negative 5x is going to be equal to negative 8x. And now we have to account for the negatives by putting a negative here and a negative there, and calling this bracket 1, calling this bracket 2. As a result, we would have something like this: x minus 5 multiplied by x minus 3 is equal to 0. And then we will have x minus 5 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 equals to 0. And therefore, x will end up becoming equal to 5, or x will be equal to 3. But then this is not enough. You have to prove that the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side to see if whether the solutions are both valid. So you can then say now, for my pen is having a problem. So for x is equal to 5, when you substitute x is equal to 5 on the left-hand side, here, when you substitute it on this expression here, on top here, you get 4 times 5 minus 11 is going to be equal to, this is 9 minus 11. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 11 is equal to 9. And that's going to be equal to 3. It's 9. And then if you substitute x is x is equal to 5 to the right hand side, you will get 2 minus 5. In the place of x, you're putting 5. So 2 minus 5 is equal to negative 3. Because the left hand side is not equal to the right hand side, let me write it here, is not equal to the right hand side, x is equal to 5 is not a solution. And if you think for x is equal to 3, you will find that it also doesn't give the right answer. And I want you to write it in the comment section if whether you are getting an equal value on the left hand side and the right hand side when you substitute x is equal to 3. But here as well, it should be ending up like this. Left hand side is not equal to the right hand side. It's not equal to the right hand side. And therefore, no solution. No solution. Just say no solve or no solution. That's it for me from today. If you like my content, please make sure that you subscribe, share my videos with friends, and also encourage them to subscribe. You can even share it with your high school learners and every person that you might think will find this useful. And make sure that you leave your comments as to what you would like to see in the future when it comes to the type of content that I'm covering. Thank you.